finally people are waking up to the fact that the market is manipulated and the big guys always win.
On this episode of Early Bird, Stefanie Kammerman, founder and managing director of the Stock Whisperer Trading Company. Stefanie joins the podcast today to talk about why she thinks the stock market may be rigged and manipulated, and how average investors can profit off of it. If you're an investor looking to stay on top of the latest market trends, then you're listening to the right podcast. This is Early Bird, and I'm your host, Stephen Lerner. Before we get to today's discussion, let me tell you how you can save time and beat the market through Early Bird, a free daily email newsletter featuring commentary about the latest trends in stocks, cryptocurrency, and equity crowdfunding. Early Bird is designed to help individual and non-professional investors stay on top of all of the critical investing trends. The newsletter is 100% free and is sent to your email box each weekday morning. Subscribe to Early Bird for free at www.earlybird.email. Once again, that's earlybird.email. And now, today's discussion. All right, Stefanie, thank you so much for joining us today on the Early Bird podcast. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much, Stefanie. It's really great to chat with you and to hear some of insights about what you're seeing in the stock market. But before we kind of get into that, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. If you could, summarize your background in 30 seconds, give your brief biography, that would be great.
All right, sure. So I went to college. I majored in psychology, and I got out of college, and I really didn't feel like going back to get my master's. I was supporting myself, and I needed a job, and I got really lucky, actually. Happy hour. Have you ever gotten a job during happy hour?
I can't say that I have.
Probably not. Yeah, so and to make it short, my girlfriend was working at the largest prop firm, Schoenfeld Securities, and she got invited to go out Friday with all the, the traders in the $1 million room. She didn't want to be the only female, so she invited me, and of course I said yes. And while I was there, I met these guys. They were so cool, so humble, and they made a lot of money. And one of them, Scotty, just said, "Hey, I need an assistant. I really need help. At the end of the day, I'm not balanced. I need somebody to help me out." And of course, I said, "Sure. I could do it, but I don't know anything about the market." And he said, "Oh, it's easy. I'll teach you." And honestly, that's how it happened.
And he taught you, and then you're the stock whisperer with your Stock Whisperer Trading Company. It's really amazing what you've done, but I kind of want to talk about this important topic that you brought up. You say that the stock market is rigged and manipulated. Can I ask why you say that?
So I say it because I see it every day in the tape. I started to see trades that were being done that really, in my mind, were illegal because they weren't, the price of the trades were not happening in the right day, meaning they happened yesterday because the SPY, the S&P 500, did not trade there today. And I started seeing them in my time and sales window. And, the proof is there. It happens every day. And, these large institutions are selling and buying massive, we're talking billions of dollars in the dark pool. And they don't have to report their trades.
When you say the dark pool, can you explain what that means?
Sure. It's really, I know it sounds really ominous. It's just an alternative market where these institutions are doing these trades, so they don't have to report them. So let's just say Goldman Sachs has 5 million shares to sell of a stock at $100. So he can sell 200,000 one day, another 100,000 another day, another 400 till he gets to 1 million. And we're not seeing any of these trades until it's completed. So that's how they dump billions of dollars at the top, and that's how they buy billions of dollars at the bottom.
Got it.
Lovely. Yeah, lovely.
So you kind of talked a little bit about the bank right there, but do you have any examples about rigging and manipulating in the market that you might be able to share?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of discussion on this recently. There's a group called the Apes that are going after Citadel,
Mm-hmm.
hoping for a short squeeze because shares are being done that are not being transparent. And, that's one form, of rigging and manipulating the market. And that's literally it's on TV every single day. They're talking about it. But I have seen trades, for example, on Wells Fargo, selling massive amounts before news comes out, that they're doing fraudulent bank accounts. And, every day I see something happening before the news happens. So, I mean, that's one way, but it's really these late trades is how they're rigging the market.
Yeah.
There's a loophole.
Can you give
So I'll tell you about the loophole that nobody knows about.
so?
So the dark pool, they have 3 hours to report their trade. That's legal.
Uh-huh.
But they're doing it 24 hours later.
Who's they?
And I found out. So we're talking about Barclays, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, anybody that trades in a dark pool, that's a large institution. They're doing billions of dollars in these alternative exchanges. And they get away with it because there's a loophole. So if Goldman Sachs has an office in London and an office in New York, a trading desk, and they cross the trade, they have 24 hours to report the trade. And really nobody knew about this. I learned it from a floor trader, and I have pictures of it. You're supposed to, the day you execute a trade, report it, right? Isn't that your knowledge of how it works?
I'm not sure what the legalities are regarding that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can Google it. It baffled me for a really long time how they were able to do it. And then one day I found out from a floor trader at BMO. He said, Steph, I know you've been freaking out about this, and I'm going to tell you how they do it, because he knows he's a floor trader. And it's a loophole. And, when I was writing my book, I had a very big legal department. And they called me up and they said, Steph, we can't find it anywhere. What do you mean they're allowed to do this? And there's a loophole. And I said, of course you're not finding it anywhere. I have pictures of it, though. Let me just show you the trades. I have thousands of pictures. Every day it's happening.
Got it. Can you give me sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Stephanie, could you give me maybe like a recent example, perhaps, of one of these incidents?
Okay, well, I mean, today, the late prints or just regular heavy trades?
Like last week or whatever in March, is there any example of rigged or manipulations, anything recent, for example, that you might have?
Okay, so we're talking more about insider trading, right? So when big trades happen, so last week on, March 21st.
Yes.
I posted out, I have a dark pool app, and I posted out a trade that happened on the E-minis. It was a huge whale trade, 430 contracts, it's large, very large, at $4,460. And literally, that was at 11:48 in the middle of the day. And 40 minutes later, Powell started talking, and the market, fell down from 44.60 down to 44.20. Okay, in a matter of 30 minutes. And people think, oh, it's because of that. I see the trades happen before the news happens.
That's,
and that's, that's manipulation. That's somebody knowing something. That's insider trading. That's just one form of what they do.
That's very fascinating. And can I ask how you found that example? How were you able to locate that example?
Yes, so time and sales window. I have, I watch all the futures. I watch everything. And I have a block trade indicator. I watch every big trade that's happening in the market. And that's really how the market moves. It's volume. But it's these large block trades that will move it. And so I have a time and sales window. I use Thinkorswim on the e-minis. I watch it all day long. And when we get these big, large blocks coming, I know something's going to happen, and I alert people to it. So that's one way I'm seeing it. But these late prints that I was telling you about, when they get heavy, sometimes we get a couple of them, but when they get really heavy, billions of dollars, we know a correction is going to happen. When they're late sell prints, I call them, or late buy prints, we know the market's going to go up. Because that's just how they manipulate large amounts of money.
And once again, you're talking about the institutional investors you're pointing out, right?
Correct.
And so,
yeah, I mean, those are the people that have $1 billion. I don't have $1 billion to trade with. Do you?
No. And so for listeners, unless there are billionaire listeners, maybe there are, for those retail investors, how do you think this makes them feel?
Yeah, it's awful. I've been on this, so I lived out of a suitcase for 6 years, Stephen. I traveled across Canada, across the U.S., speaking everywhere I can speak, showing pictures and showing people, look what they're doing. The market is rigged. It's manipulated. But my mission was to help people make money. It was not to go to the SEC and complain and make a fair market. I'm 5'2". I'm not that powerful, but now there are thousands of people in the Reddit community. A lot of people know them as the apes that are trying really hard to make this market fair, make Citadel accountable, because they're doing, that's a bigger situation. Finally, people are waking up to the fact that the market is manipulated and the big guys always win. But my mission has been I knew the big guys win because my boss the first day said, you always follow the big guy. Don't ever go against the big guy. And so that's been my thing, is to follow the money. And I just help people, everyday people. I help them to make great trading decisions, showing them where these large institutions are buying and selling. And, they thank me every day. And it feels good. I'm just not that big enough to go fighting the SEC. And, that's tough. If you want to do it, you can absolutely do it. But I'm here to feed my family,
Well said. When we return, we'll hear from Stefanie about how to profit off the market and her advice for retail investors in 2022. But first, let me tell you how you can become a more informed investor through Early Bird, a free daily email newsletter. Early Bird has commentary on the latest events and trends in stocks, cryptocurrency, and crowdfunding. With Early Bird's daily weekday email, investors can quickly stay on top of the trends and beat the market. Subscribe to Early Bird for free at www.earlybird.email. Once again, that's earlybird.email. And now, back to today's discussion. So, Stefanie, today we're talking about what you've seen regarding the market being rigged and manipulated, and as well as tips of how retail investors might be able to profit off of it. Before we get into that, I do want to play a little devil's advocate here. You say the market is rigged and manipulated. Technically, the market is not rigged and manipulated. Technically, what's going on is there are issues with information that's online that is available to some and not others. There's obviously a big gap in the market between retail traders and institutional traders regarding capital availability, and of course the type of influence that we know that big money has on the market. So given all of that, and we know that there is certainly inequities out there in this situation, it's not that the market itself is rigged and manipulated. It's just that there are certainly some unfair practices going on that might be giving institutional investors a leg up over retail investors.
Sure.
Is that kind of more of a way to look at it?
Yeah. Well, the person with the biggest amount of money wins. It's all about volume, so when they're buying, it goes up. And when they're selling, it goes down. It's just that they have a huge advantage of being able to hide their trades until they're done. If we saw that Goldman Sachs or another institution was selling, right, billions of dollars today, if you could actually see it on the offer, would you buy it? Of course not. You'd be like, I'm not going to buy that. Look at that. That's a huge order to go to sell, right? Or if you saw them buying, you would buy. And they would never get their order done. They wouldn't get filled if we could see what they were doing. So they're doing them in this dark pool, and my job is to shed the light. It's not too late, even though you saw them selling. It takes them sometimes a couple of weeks, but they have a special signature. We know it's happening, and we can sell and we can make money following them.
So,
That's my thing.
so I think that's very interesting to listeners out there, how you can make money off of this. How can retail investors profit off of this information that you present?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. Everybody thinks they have to be smart, outsmart the market, outthink the market. And, to be quite honest, all you have to do is follow these trades, and anybody can do it. You don't have to have a big account. You don't have to know anybody. It's 2022. Back when I started 29 years ago, yeah, I had to work in a large prop firm. They put me in front of a computer called an Insight, the Instinet, which was a dark pool liquidity computer. Everybody has access to the dark pool. You just have to know how to trade and how to interpret the trades. And that's what I do for people. I help them interpret the trades. And look, 29 years, I know what it looks like when they're buying. I know what it looks like when they're selling. I know when something is unusual, because there are large trades and it doesn't mean anything to me. But then there are other large trades that something is happening. For example, last summer, I was on Fox Business with Charles Payne. And, he asked me what I was seeing in the dark pool. And I saw some, very unusual activity in gold. There was an ETV that I've never seen. It was new, and there were massive, trades happening in it. And I said, we're going to have a big move in gold. And I know it takes them a while to form a position, but it's starting to move now. And, silver as well. And that's, I'm seeing a trend in that direction right now with the dollar, inflation, so
Are these
we had a lot of,
are
yeah,
these
go
the
ahead.
dollar and the inflation? Are these some of the trends that you're seeing right now in the market for 2022?
Yes. I'm seeing a lot of money moving over to real gold, actually. Think about it this way. When you buy gold stock, right, GLD or any of them, you're buying paper, right? The dollar's paper. So, personally, I am recommending people to go out and buy real gold and silver in your possession, because I see the dollar disappearing very, very soon. It's happening. Just look at Russia right now. It's happening. China, they're going to digital currency. Even our Fed announced that we're going to a central bank digital currency.
They're studying it,
What do you
right?
think?
They're just studying
Yeah.
it. This dollar is still
No, they're
around.
not studying it. They're there. They
They're,
are so there. Who do you think is buying all the gold right now? They're so there.
but no, they're just
They don't
studying it
want
right now.
panic.
They haven't officially done that yet. They're just in the studying phase.
Okay, whatever. But I'm in the buying phase right now. So I'm, recommending to buy real gold, real silver. I can see us going back to, a gold-backed currency, 1,000%.
Interesting. I don't subscribe to the buy gold, buy silver thing, but I always say speak to your financial advisor. They'll probably give you good advice on that. Stefanie, real quick, what else do you, so when it comes to retail investor trying to profit off of this market the way you see it, what's the most important advice that you could offer?
Get an education. All right, so important. People just jump into the stock market and they have no idea. They haven't been trained properly. And, the market's going to eat you up alive. It's really important that you study with whoever it is. I run a live trading room because I believe that you need to teach people how to do something live and teaching them while you're doing it. Really learn from somebody, have a mentor, somebody that's successful at it. And, value your money. You work really hard for it and you really need to respect it. But follow the money. Don't listen to what people are saying, or you're reading in a paper. I can't tell you how many times I see the dark pool buying and, all those people, are saying sell, sell, sell. And I see the dark pool buying, or they say buy, buy, buy. And I see the dark pool selling. So learn how to read the tape. It's not hard. If I can do it, anybody can.
Absolutely. I think it's important for all investors to become educated, to learn as much as you possibly can. Stefanie, thank you so much for coming on the Early Bird podcast today, sharing your insights on this issue. Before we wrap up the podcast, I just have one final question, and it's the big question for today's discussion. The question for you, Stefanie, is if you could design a dream home, what would it look like?
I live in it. I am. I'm actually building it right now.
Anything unique about it?
It has a beach. Yeah, it's a corner unit, and it's beautiful. I see the ocean, water all around me, the bay, and I work. I almost work 24 hours a day, so I want to be surrounded by something beautiful.
Thank you again to Stefanie Kammerman for sharing your insights on the stock market. And thank you to everyone for listening to today's discussion. We'll be back next week for another episode of Early Bird. Have a great day.